Ricky.
Come on, Ricky.
Yeah, he was able to fit us into his busy schedule on Sky, on all the big publications, but here he is on We Are Tottenham TV.
Hey, boys. Always got time for you amazing boys. How are you both? You okay?
We are on top of the world right now, Ricky. I can see from that smile on your face. So are you, my friend. Talk to me about how you're feeling right now.
Boys, you're the same as me. We've been on a lot of the obviously recent protests, in the last however many years. Again, I can't claim to be someone that's been avidly marching for the last 15, 20 years. Don't get me wrong. Brian, bless him, who's been, avidly, as we know, someone that's been, adversely against what Daniel Levy's, I say, done to the football club, but in some degree, the lack of success, certainly over, you look at the quarter of a century in general, you can't take away, what he's done from a stadium and training ground perspective. But at the end of the day, as you boys will know, you were out there in Bilbao. We can't be a club that just wins once or twice in 17 years. It's a club that is got a rich history of winning. Look, not winning leagues, but winning cups, certainly. The thing about it, boys, is, let's be honest about it, it's a step into the unknown. But at the same time, I think my feeling in the last, certainly, year and a half, 2 years has been that I feel like we've been kind of in that Newcastle situation where under Mike Ashley, where you're kind of almost stuck in this hamster wheel that doesn't ever really show any signs of massively, massively changing. And it's ironic that the actual transfer window in which Daniel departs, the calibre of player level has gone up. But also we saw a lot of classic Tottenham in that transfer window, high profile, failure transfers, that Daniel Levy openly admitted and said himself on The Athletic. He ran, the likes of the Eberici Eze, the Gibbs-White deal to some degree. Look, again, we're not in the room, so we don't know a huge amount about that particular deal. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of classic Tottenham about that previous transfer window. And whilst the calibre of players certainly moved up, there was a very much classic theme to the way Tottenham would not get certain players over the line. But being honest with you boys, look, it is a step into the unknown. But I think if you asked a lot of Tottenham fans, look, boys as well, we're lucky, we're humbled by a lot of the support we get out there from the Spurs community. We can't speak for everybody, but I think if you polled a huge amount of Tottenham fans, they would now throw the dice, they would now gamble and think, well, do you know what? 2 trophies in the last 17 years, the lack of real consistent success, we're willing to roll the dice. We're willing to, gamble on what could come next for Tottenham. And the reality is that we know, boys, talented squad, very good manager, arguably what you'd say 2 or 3 maybe real genuine needle mover players away from being a club that can compete at the very, very top. And with the right backing, with the right sustainable level of investment, this could be such an exciting time for Tottenham. But as you boys know as well as me right now, it's also a step into the unknown. We've all only known this. We've only known this for the last 25 years. So even getting your head around the fact, as you boys will know, to not even say Daniel Levy's name on your show anymore is going to take some getting used to. I know certainly it's going to be for us as well on Last One on Spurs. To not mention Daniel Levy's name, which has probably been the one common key word if you looked at all the We Are Tottenham TV and Last One on Spurs shows put together over the last how many years, how many times have we said the name Daniel Levy on a show? Probably it would be, if not every show, we've mentioned Daniel Levy's name. So just getting your head around the fact he's no longer going to be there, it is mind-blowing, guys. It really is mind-blowing. It is really mind-blowing.
What do you think about the timing, Ricky? 2 days after the transfer window's closed, this is announced. There's obviously a lot of rumours, as Lee was saying, earlier in the summer about all these different things. So obviously this has clearly been in the pipeline for a while. Do you believe this has all been very carefully orchestrated to be announced at this kind of time?
The thing is, Sim, as you know, we've heard murmurs as well from Lee, from Paul O'Keefe as well, that Paul's on later tonight with us on Last One on Spurs, which is going to be fascinating in terms of timing. The reality is, I think we've heard murmurs, guys, over this last kind of 12, 18 months that they felt there was going to be some form of boardroom reshuffle. And obviously we saw with Donna Cunnan leaving as well in the earlier part of the summer. You could tell there was going to be a change at boardroom level. I think what's fascinating, guys, again, is that there's no change in terms of ENIC still retaining control of Tottenham at this stage. So I think we have to remember that whilst there's big celebrations about the fact Daniel Levy's going, ENIC in terms of the organisation are still in control of Tottenham, and they're an investment company. So the reality is how much of ENIC is going to massively, massively change in this next however many years they're in control of the club. We don't know. Is this with a view to a takeover? I think we're hearing suggestions now that Vinay Venkatesham is going to be doing the day-to-day running of Tottenham. So, look, it's a completely different Tottenham to the Tottenham Daniel Levy walked into 25 years ago. And I think we have to remember that, at the same time, he took over a club, let's be honest about it, guys, that whilst there was before his time, decent success in terms of cup trophies. There also was, mediocre league finishes, as we know. So he did take us up into the top 6. You could argue he did get us competing for Champions League football, but it has felt like that was only going to be the level. We were never going to really significantly push on during his tenureship. So look, that's why, again, what's fascinating is you see a lot of people do down fan power. The work you guys do, Change for Spurs do, we campaign on Last Word on Spurs. You have to ask yourself, this is not in an arrogance way at all, if all those fans did not come together the way they had done in this last 18, 24 months and made their feelings known against the board, would this have happened? I'm not quite sure it would have done. So it just goes back to show, the game is about the fans. It's for the fans. And that should never be forgotten, that although we look up to footballers, we look up to managers, the fans are the heartbeat of every club. We saw that during COVID as well, that without the fans, football is nothing. So this is a massive win, I think, for supporters that have wanted Daniel Levy to leave the club for a long, long time. We're getting our wish to some degree, but at the same time as well, boys, as we know, we are stepping into the unknown here. There's no guarantee as to what comes next, and that's why from a Tottenham fan perspective, it's very fascinating as to what comes next. And like you said in your question to me in terms of the timing of it, that makes it even more fascinating just on the back of a transfer window, where Daniel Levy, as we know, was highly active and highly relevant in a lot of negotiations for not only the players that come in, but also the players that didn't come in.
Yeah, Ricky, we talk about going into the unknown, the summer of change, which actually really was the summer of change this year. Do you feel like this is a precursor to actually ENIC selling the club, or what would your prediction be on that one?
Oh, it's $1 million question, boys. That's $1 million question. ENIC have had control of the club, as we've said, for a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
There comes a time when organisations will look and think, have we taken this as far as we physically can and mentally can as well? You look around what's in the Premier League now. You've got state ownership, which again I know causes divide amongst fans in terms of what they want about that. But I think there will come a time. They've been going for so many years at Tottenham. Does everybody want the same thing? Do they all want to keep trying to grow it organically? With obviously, of course, having the boxing, the NFL, the concerts, everything that goes on like that. Or is there a time when they think, do you know what now? We've taken it as far as we can. We want to sell to the highest bidder. And that, I think, boys, is the most fascinating part of this, that we honestly, at this stage, we don't know. We honestly don't know. As I'm talking to you right now, we're hearing reports in regards to, certain situations. I'm looking here. Rob Harris is saying sources close to the Lewis family tell Sky News generations of the Lewis family support this special football club, and the fans want more wins more often. This is why you've seen recent changes, new leadership and a fresh approach. If you go by that news that's coming out of Rob Harris, who's the Sky News senior correspondent, that would tell you ENIC are not going anywhere. If anything, ENIC are staying on, and they've recognised how the fans feel, what the fans want, and going by this, what we're seeing here, that is what you've seen has led to change and having a new leadership and a fresh approach right from the top. So again, that's quite fascinating in itself.
But it just could be like a completely new approach from ENIC as well, because we've heard, obviously, Joe Lewis potentially passing on his kind of ownership role to his daughter, Vivian Lewis. We saw Vivian
Lewis was there, wasn't she? She was there, I think, at the Burnley game, she was there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if that is true, then that gives me even more kind of massive confidence that Spurs will be going in the right direction.
You boys, you boys are great. You're great at asking the questions. I ask you, how do you feel? What do you feel is next for the club? I mean, what do you think, Sim? I think you're one of the most intelligent people we've got in this fan base.
I wouldn't go
apart from certain points last season.
Mate, we were right to stick with Ange, bro. Anyway, regardless of that,
I just got grilled for half an hour on Sky about that.
So what's the question? What do I think?
What's your feeling about it? How do you feel about it?
I think it's exciting because I think it's what we've all been asking for, and I think this is something that we've all kind of. I think it just gets to a stage. It's a bit like when Arsenal were going through the whole Wenger in, Wenger out debate. It just gets to a point where everyone's sick of the debate. Everyone's sick of the conversation. We need to move on from it. And I think it's a change that needed to happen. I think we can all agree on that. I think Daniel Levy, when it comes to how he operates in the footballing spectrum, his negotiating tactics, all these different things, not only is I think he's a bit outdated, but I also think he's pissed off a lot of chairmen throughout the Premier League. Everyone, all the chairmen want to get one up on him. It's like a badge of honour, it seems, to get one up on Daniel Levy now. nowadays in the transfer market. And I think Daniel Levy was struggling or wasn't capable of taking us to that extra upper echelon of where we were to, you know, really competing with the big sides. He didn't do what needed to be done, really. So if he's stepping down and we're going a different direction because that's what's being recognised, and as what Rob Harris is saying, the Lewis family want better for the football team and better for the club, and what they want to be competing on at higher echelons and these different things. If that's the aim here, then absolutely fantastic. If there's something else afoot and there's if there's ulterior motives not to do with Tottenham doing well, then you got to be sceptical of that. But obviously right now we've been calling for this. Vina is obviously a guy who's, you know, been in this role before. I don't know a lot about Charrington and what his role is going to be, but if what Ben's saying, if Paratici joins the board and we have someone who's obviously was a big part of a big football club when in their big period of dominance, he knows what it takes to keep a club at that kind of high level when he was there. I think that'll be a real positive thing. He'll know what needs. He'll be a good voice to have in the boardroom. Put it that way. Yeah,
I think the fascinating thing is, boys, and I mean Ben comes to you on that point. You know, Daniel Levy has been the heartbeat of this club for the last 25 years. Like he's even said, he's in control of everything when it comes to even choosing the colour seating of the seats at the stadium. So I mean, I'm talking about the conference rooms here, not the stadium seats. I'm going as far as the conference rooms and everything down to the napkins.
The wiring in the stadium, the wiring.
Everything was to the nth degree was Daniel Levy having the footprint on everything. Then suddenly, when that man has gone like that, I just think it's fascinating as well when you think about the timing of that overlap interview. We're going to about, a couple of months ago. Do you think about the overlap interview to now and kind of think, that's it, he's gone? You know, I will be fascinated because I would presume at some point we're going to get a statement from Daniel Levy. We're going to have to get some form of statement. I think that'll be fascinating in terms of what comes out from there.
Because they did release an official statement.
Yeah. Obviously, Daniel had said a few words. I just... At some point, there's going to be, I think, a video interview. They won't leave it like this. We're going to see a video interview from Daniel at some point. I don't think you can leave it just on when you've been at a club for 25 years, where everything about Daniel Levy, there's going to be something to camera. There's going to have to be because of the nature of how big it is. So I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating how these next few weeks work out. And for anybody that was thinking in the Spurs content space, we're going to get a break. It's international break. No, you're not.
100%.
So cancel any holidays you had with your partners because that's gone out the window.
Unbelievable.
It's going to be fascinating, boys. Honestly, it's going to be fascinating.
Did you think for a second, Ricky, when you woke up this morning, you're like, all right, international break, nice weekend off, and now that's slow. Like, I just can't believe this has actually happened, man. I'm just as soon as I got the news, I was pacing up and down the studio, being like, what the hell do I do with myself
when it broke, I thought the Spurs official turned into a parody account for a second.
Yeah.
I kept looking, thinking, is this the real account with the tick? The verification tick. I couldn't quite believe what I'm seeing, but it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Fascinating how these next few weeks play out because, look, we said about the timing of it. Maybe they did it deliberately now. We're entering into an international break. When you think about it, there's no game that's on to have as a distraction right now. It maybe has been planned to be deliberately like that, where it happens at the early part of the international break, because West Ham's still a week and a half away. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating in terms of what comes next. There's never a dull moment in the Spurs sphere, is there? I mean, it's just, I know people must laugh and think, this club, what is it like to be as a fan? It's no joke. Every day, every week there is something. People might think it's a joke, but you've always got something to talk about. So,
Ricky, what do you think of the theory that Romero was told Levy's resigning? That's why he signed the new contract.
You know what? So I didn't think about that. What's funny? You said it, so I didn't think about that. Look, again, you do wonder. You do wonder because again, you thought about it at the time. Because I was thinking, even when Romero signed the contract, that was before the Eze.
Yeah, fell through.
Broke down, and you thought he must have thought, "What am I doing signing here?" So, like I said, it's interesting. You then look back, like you say, Sim, to all those things that have happened before that, and think how in the know were the players, how in the know were certain senior officials. Because again, you have to think about this: to have kept this so quiet, in the world that we live in now, with football agents, with publications, with media. I mean, look,
oh, is he gone?
Did give us an indication that he felt there was going to be a change in you guys.
We've lost you there for a second.
There you go. You're back.
You're back now.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be fascinating how these next few weeks pan out and what kind of comes next, because you just feel this is not the end of the story. We're only getting started. That is honestly it. We're only just getting started into what is going to be a new chapter for Tottenham. And hopefully, boys, a positive one where there's many, many trophies to come.
Do you think we would? Just reading, Vinay obviously takes over as CEO. Charrington, non-executive chairman. Vinay is going to do the day-to-day stuff. Does that mean do you reckon he steps on the negotiating table to replace Levy, or do you think Charrington has a say in that? It's going to be fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've just recovered, boys, for the transfer window. We haven't got to think about it for 3 months, have we?
It never stops.
I've only just recovered, and we're going back. We're talking about negotiations already. I'm trying to get over some negotiations.
Fast forward to January, Ricky. I can't wait till this next transfer window.
I wish I had Jason McGovern lined up for that question. That would have gone down well. It's going to be fascinating, boys. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. But look, there's a lot of Tottenham fans tonight that are going to be very, very happy by this news. They're also, let's be honest about it, there's going to be some out there, like, a very small portion, I would say, that are also going to be maybe worried about the unknown. What I would say is that, look, I've said this before on your show, you boys are amazing on here, that, players come and go, managers come and go, staff come and go, the fans are here forever. And remember, a lot of fans campaigned for this and wanted this. Mm. And even Stelios, like you said, changes happen. So it just shows you how powerful fan power is. And look, when you go by what we're hearing being those sources close to Daniel Levy with Joe Lewis, they've recognised the fact that there now needs to be an adoption where a change is needed. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating, guys, to see how it works out.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, would that have been realised or recognised from these higher ups if the fans weren't continually putting pressure on the board and making their feelings known? Because if everyone's just seemed happy, if everyone seemed happy at the moment at Tottenham, would the board even have put pressure on Levy to change or have these disagreements? Supposedly,
but it's interesting as well. Is like what has actually led to this decision and this moment right now? Is it Daniel Levy saying, you know what, my time, I've been here for 25 years, it's been a long time. Anyone in the same role at 25 years, you know they're coming to the end in any job. Or has it been a push from the top? Has it been a push from Enoch? Has it been a push from Joe Lewis or Vivian?
If we go from what we were hearing, which is, I mean, it seems to be a coincidence that would be a lie, but yet Levy steps down. You know what I mean? Yeah. We were hearing that Lewis installed Charrington as a check on Levy because they want to go in a different direction. They want to start being more competitive and stuff like that. And they were butting heads. Obviously, apparently they forced Cullen to step down. All these different things. Now it could be rubbish, but it'd be a major coincidence. That's all rubbish. Yet Levy's just decided to step down anyway. You know what I mean? So there must be some truth to that.
I think it's going to be fascinating, boys. I mean, like I say, we're all second guessing here what comes next, but I'm hearing now people saying, get Harry Kane back at this football club. Yeah, again, it's things like that you think, even with that, again, we heard the suggestions how difficult Kane's exit was for Tottenham and how, hardly found it to get out of the building or not be let back in the building. Again, there's so many different, like you said, Sim, so many different connotations to this. You mentioned about Romero there, certain players of certain deals that haven't worked out, certain managers that were blocked that, maybe could have worked out. There is, honestly, guys, there is, like you said, Sim, there is so many theories as to what comes back round now in the next few weeks. But look, we have to remember one thing. We've got a good manager in Thomas Frank. I think the majority of fans like him. Majority of fans, I think, like the squad as well. This squad of winners, don't get me wrong. We've had, 4 exciting players come in that elevate the first team. I think we can all sit here and agree, as fans, we always want more. I think we honestly are, in my opinion, 2 or 3 players away from being genuinely in a position where we could really, really compete. And that's why I think a lot of people tonight, when they put their head on the pillow, will think to themselves, you know what? If this change results into Tottenham becoming a Tottenham where they could seriously want to strive to compete, we've got such an exciting future ahead of us. But I know with Tottenham, it's never a dull moment. Honestly, this football club, just when you think you've got 5 minutes free, it surprises you like you never would imagine. Only Tottenham, boys. That's all I can say is only Tottenham.
Big up to you, Ricky. Thanks for coming on today. I'll let you have a few moments to yourself before you're back at it, back on Last Word on Spurs with Paul O'Keefe
we'll
tonight.
Be tuning in. We'll all be tuning in.
We'll all be tuning in, exactly.
Right,
thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, mate.
Always. Thank you, boys.
Nice one,
Everyone. Take care.
Cheers for coming on, mate.
Cheers, mate.